In the next 7 minutes, I will address how to use apporter, emporter, amener, and emmener correctly, and how to sound more natural in French. I will also cover some very common mistakes that French learners often make, as well as some mistakes that you might not even know you're making. I'm Kritika from Fluent U, and we want to help you learn French through real-world videos, so you can speak just like a native. In this video, I will cover the definitions for apporter, emporter, amener, and emmener, show you video and sentence examples for each word, explain what stem-changing verbs are, and give you 2 quizzes to test your understanding. Let's start with apporter. Apporter means to bring, and you use this with objects. Je peux apporter du pain. It's not just used with physical objects, though. You can also use it with intangible things like good news or messages. Il apporte des bonnes nouvelles de ton père. The way I like to remember it is that it has porte in the middle, which reminds me of the verb porter, which means to carry. So I think of it as carrying ideas or objects. With apporter, you can also add an R at the beginning to mean to bring something back. Rapporter. Je rapporte ta chemise demain.
Et elle m'a donné la première chance dans ma vie de prouver que je pouvais apporter quelque chose.
Moving on to emporter. Emporter means to take something away or carry something away, and this is also used for objects. On veut tout emporter parce qu'on déménage. I want you to notice the connotation difference between apporter and emporter. Apporter means to bring, so the emphasis is more on the final destination, the reason why you're bringing something, like for work or for a party. With emporter, the focus is more on the current reality, like taking a jacket because it might be cold, even if you don't know whether your final destination, the outside, is actually cold. Another place you will see the verb emporter is on restaurant signs in France. It will often say vente à emporter, which means that they offer takeout or to go. Let's do a quiz between these 2 words. I'll give you a sample sentence and you have to fill it in with apporter or emporter, and make sure to conjugate correctly. Ah, j'ai oublié mon portefeuille chez toi. Tu peux le blank ce soir? Since the emphasis is on bringing something to a final destination, the answer is apporter. Tu peux l'apporter ce soir? On blank des restes du repas. Since the emphasis is on what we're doing now, it's emporter. On emporte des restes du repas. Les feuilles ont été blank par le vent. In this case, since the leaves would be taken away, the verb is emporter. Here you would use the past participle emporter, and since the direct object, les feuilles, appears before the past participle must agree in gender and number. So emporter has an extra E and S at the end. Moving on to amener. Amener also means to bring, but in this case you use it with people. Je vais amener mon ami à la fête. The way I like to remember this is that the word men is in the middle of amener, which reminds me that it's used with people. Amener can also mean to lead in a figurative sense, like to lead a conversation somewhere. Et ça m'amène à la question suivante.
Aujourd'hui, nous avons croisé un camion qui amène un zèbre.
Before we move on, I would like to go over the conjugation of amener, which is what's known as a stem-changing verb, or more informally, a boot verb. For amener, you conjugate it just like a normal ER verb, but for this boot section, for je, tu, il, elle, and il, elle plural, you add an accent grave on the first E. This changes the pronunciation slightly. J'amène, tu amènes, il, elle amène, versus nous amenons, vous amenez, il, elle amène. The boot section has a more eh sound, while the non-boot section is e, and this is reflected by the accent grave. This basically just makes it more natural to pronounce. Amener is just like apporter in that you can add an R at the beginning to mean to bring someone back. Il me ramène à la maison.
Les fondateurs souhaitent ramener la gaufre à un produit plus noble, grâce notamment à une recette particulière.
So I get that is a lot to keep track of with accents, people versus things, conjugations. So on Fluent U, if I just type in A-M-E-N-E, I can see the full range of different conjugations of amener and the different uses, which gives me sample sentences, video examples, and pronunciation guides for each and every word. For example, this video shows me a slightly different usage of amener, which could be a little difficult to explain with the definition, but in a video it's very easy to understand the distinction.
Il pense, il t'amène là, il feinte, il revient.
There's a link to a free trial for Fluent U in the description, and it's a key tool to understanding confusing words like this. I'm sure it'll make you an expert, so make sure you check out the free trial. Next we have emmener. Emmener means to take someone somewhere or to take someone away, and it's used with people and animals. It's also a little bit different than to bring. On va emmener ton chat avec nous. The pronunciation of this word can almost blend in with amener, so let's watch a couple clips and then you have to tell me how you distinguish between these two words.
L'idée, c'est de faire délicatement à la fin du repas, d'amener un sac.
Anniversaire, ma mère tenait absolument à m'emmener chez Louis.
So the difference is that emmener begins with a more rounder ah sound, emmener, whereas amener begins with a more open sound, ah, amener, amener, emmener. Just like emmener, emmener is also a stem changing verb.
Mais j'ai promis à ma femme et à ma fille de les emmener en week-end.
Now let's do a quiz with all four of the words. Amener, apporter, emmener, and emporter. Je suis très fatiguée. Tu me blank au restaurant ce soir? So we're talking about a person here, and the emphasis is on the taking someone somewhere. So the answer is emmener. Tu m'emmènes au restaurant ce soir? Mes affaires sont blank par les travailleurs. Here you could go both ways. You could say mes affaires sont emportées to mean that the belongings were taken away, or mes affaires sont apportées to mean that your belongings were brought by the workers. Je vous ai blank ici pour m'aider. Again, we're talking about a person, so it should be one of the mener verbs. And since the focus is on the destination, ici, je vous ai blank ici, you should use amener. Je vous ai amené ici pour m'aider. If you like this video, then you should definitely check out our previous video on encore, toujours, jamais, and déjà. Those are 4 confusing French words that we clear up on that video, so I think you'll really like it. And I've also included a free PDF below of all of these words and their definitions, so you can refer to them anytime.